What is going on, guys? Welcome to the Wednesday night live stream. Tonight we have the one and only Greg Carroll on today. How's it going today, Greg?
Good, excellent.
Excellent, excellent. So today we thought it'd be fun to talk about the pros and cons of reef gear, reef methods. So it's a little going to be all over the place, but we always have good conversations, so I think it should be a good one.
Absolutely.
So, okay, speaking of gear and methods, what is Greg's current reefing method?
Well, my current reefing method is going bare bottom. This is the first tank I've ever set up that was bare bottom. Other than that, it's more or less the Berlin method: skimmer,
Yep.
and a calcium reactor. That's it.
So super simple for the gear, eh?
Yeah, I don't typically run any medias like carbon or GFO or anything like that. I do dose bacteria on a weekly basis.
What do you dose for bacteria?
Microbacter 7.
Okay, nice.
So I started off with Microbacter Clean for the first 6 months of the tank because that's more of a aggressive bacteria, trying to keep the algae down and so forth, and then switched over to Microbacter 7 after 6 months.
Okay. Now, so going bare bottom, you definitely have a lot more issues of algae or dinos, other stuff, because you don't have as much of that media at the sand bed. Are you using media in your sump, or have you just strictly whatever rocks in the tank and then bacteria?
So I do have a couple of Brightwell bricks
Okay.
in the sump. Just 2 of them. They're in the last chamber right there with the return pump. Occasionally, I stick a pump down in there to blow all the detritus off, and it just pumps it back into the tank.
Yeah.
So
super duper simple.
yeah, real simple. I've seen so many tanks over the years that were super complicated, and then I've seen tanks that were super simple. They all look the same.
Fair enough.
there's not, I don't care. You got the guys that dose all these things. There are people with doing nothing and their tank looks the same. Just as good.
Interesting. Okay, so now how have you found bare bottom versus non-bare bottom? Because that's a big one. Like, I definitely would say there's more weird bacterias and not even algae, but I have some weird, I don't even know what the heck it is, bacteria in my frag tank. Like, that's bare bottom, right? Like, I attribute. So I definitely see a little bit more.
Okay. So I have not had any problem at all when it comes to any weird things popping up. I mean, of course, I imported some bubble algae in, but for the most part, the emerald crabs take care of that.
Yep.
But as far as any weird algae, I'm just not seeing it. Not seeing it at all.
Quick shout out, John Vermont Reefer. Thank you for the super chat. Admission fees for the today's stream. Thank you. Okay, now, okay. So, do you think because you're dosing the Brightwell, was it the Razor you said?
No, the Microbacter Clean.
Microbacter Clean. Now, do you think that is why you haven't had any weirdness come in? Do you think that's been like the magic sauce there?
It's very possible, but I've always used a bacterial system when I've set up a tank.
Yeah.
My old tank, I used to use Protibio.
I never see that very often anymore. Is it still?
No. The Hydor guys were pushing it. They were the distributor of it, but they don't push it hard. And I really like the stuff. Main reason: unlimited shelf life.
Yeah, that's nice.
It's in those little vials, and they're sealed in nitrogen. That stuff will last forever.
You could will it off to the grandkids to start the reef tank.
Yeah, sure. And I still have a bunch of it. One of the things I used to do with the Hydor guys, he would give after every Reefpalooza, he would give me all of his display stuff.
So you're like set for life.
You're like, oh man, what are you gonna do with that? You're gonna pack that? And he's like, hell no, you can take it. So every time, and mind you, I'm doing 4 of these a year, so I've stockpiled a lot of it. But but I've been real happy with the Brightwell, so I haven't even dipped into it. So
Yep. Nice. Oh, that's awesome.
yeah.
So that's funny. So your tank is like all bacteria. Like you could bacteria dose for the rest of your life off that supply, probably.
I could, yeah. But I get the big bottles of the Brightwell, so when I dose, I'm only dosing about 50 milliliters a week.
Okay.
And then I used to carbon dose, but I ran out of their carbon source, so I've been using vinegar.
Yep.
And but usually I do that with when I do the dose, I'll add maybe 100 milliliters of vinegar at the same time.
Okay, so now I've done that when cycling a tank or other reasons, just to kind of like feed the bacteria and kind of get a bigger punch out of it. So similar idea.
Yep. Yeah, similar idea.
Okay, awesome.
And I'll be honest, I'm not consistent. I go weekends and I forget to do it, so it doesn't hurt anything.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I'm very sporadic. I don't have it on a doser, so it's like randomly I dump some in. So similar boat.
Same here.
Yep. Reggie, thanks for the super chat, man. What's up, fellas? How's it going? Now, supplementation wise, calcium reactor.
Supplementation wise is a calcium reactor. That has been for the last, I think, 3 weeks now. I went and got a big Reef octopus, the CR220.
With the screw top?
With a screw top, because no thumb screws for me. You know that.
You know what? I just set up the calcium reactor the other day on my frag tank, and it's the Cove one, and I won this one off a Facebook contest. It cost me like a freaking hundreds of dollars to ship it here. But anyways, I got this, and I was fighting with the screw top on this because the O-ring kept shifting, kept leaking. I was like, rah! Now I understand why Greg likes screw top and not these little thumb screws.
Yeah.
But so what I did, pro tip, is the Versas that come with this like greasy lubricant stuff you can get with replacement tubes. I put that on my fingers, I rubbed that around the O-ring, and that held it in place and stopped it from like popping and shifting.
It gets it sticky. I actually, any O-ring that I have, I use that thick silicone grease. I got a big tube of it off of Amazon, and it's awesome. Every O-ring that I've put on the tank, all the fittings, everything. I do the threads and the O-ring.
Nice. Well, that's a good way to do it, and it's a good tip. And I just stumbled across it because I got fed up of putting the lid on and having the stupid O-ring shift on me constantly. And I was just like, after a while. Greg's volume is low. All right, I'll turn up the Greg a bit.
Sorry, guys.
No, it's all good. I cranked you up a bit. Okay, so doing that, what else do you dose to your tank aside from the calcium reactor?
Mostly just food. To be honest with you, now that I have the calcium reactor, I did add the media that I used. I used the Coral Lazarus for the calcium reactor media, but then I used the Neo-Zeo. Now, normally they tell you to put 10% Neo-Zeo, but I did 25, primarily because I prefer my magnesium to be up over 1400.
Wait, is that Neo Mag or is Neo-Zeo?
Neo Mag.
Okay, I was like, what is this Neo-Zeo? Yes. I have not heard of this one.
Neo-Zeo's the Zeovit media.
Okay.
For Zeolite.
Yeah.
So I use the Zeomag or Neo Mag, and it's maintaining it. So
nice. Okay.
I'm happy.
Now today's stream, because we're talking like pros and cons of different methods. What was your prior tank? Did you do calcium reactor? Did you dose?
So my prior tank was a calcium reactor, and I also dosed. So I went calcium reactor, and then I was like hearing, you hear everybody talk about, dosing's better and higher pH and da 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 da. So I went and bought a GHL doser, and this is like in 2007 or so, I bought a GHL doser and I liked it. But I got to the point where I was dosing 300 milliliters of each part a day.
That's a lot.
And I'm just like, I think it was a 1.3 gallon chambers. But you go through it every just few days. And I'm just like, this is ridiculous.
Every week you're in there topping off your 2-part.
Exactly. I'm constantly having to mix 2-part, you know, so I was getting the BRS 2-part and constantly mixing. I'm just like, I can't do this anymore. So I got another calcium reactor and went back to calcium reactor.
Okay.
Now this tank, I did start the first year. I dosed by hand. I never used a doser.
By hand.
I dosed by hand. But the consumption only got up to about 120 mils a day. So
it still makes me laugh that you're complaining about having to top off your containers once a week.
I know.
But you're like, no big deal to dose by hand. But frick, I gotta fill those containers up weekly.
But I'll be honest, I wasn't exactly consistent on dosing.
Yeah.
But now I got the calcium reactor and I'm done with it. So
that's honestly one of my biggest pros for it is you fill it up and you don't have to touch it for like a year.
Yeah.
Like once a year, maybe I'll like top off my, like refill the CO2 tank and change the media or add top off media. But
I have a 20-pound CO2 bottle.
Nice.
It's going to be a long time since I have to change that.
Yeah. I'm going to say probably about a year and a couple months now on my 10-pounder, and I'm kind of questioning if I should just go refill it just for good measure, just because I don't know when it will run out, but
probably
so.
So I have 2 bottles, so I always will fill one.
Yep.
And then just swap them.
I got a little kegerator fridge. It has a little 5-pounder inside. I got a second 5-pounder, which is my spare for either the tank or the fridge, whatever runs out. I got the little backup one, so I actually just swapped it, so I got to go refill that. I'll swap that one to the big tank and then go refill it. It's a big switcheroo, but gotta do what you gotta do.
Awesome.
All right, so I got the calcium reactor now. What else you got for gear in your tank?
So my sump, the way it was designed by Vertex, and it was their Supra sump, but he made a supersized Supra for me. So nice. It's got like 2 media chambers and a Zeovit reactor, which I don't plan on using. Everything's going so well, I just don't see a need to use a Zeovit or even use the media chambers. I mean, I may in the future if I see that I need it, but I just, once the corals take off, I mean, they're gonna consume so much of the organics in the water.
It's true.
You just don't really need to worry about it. And I have a huge skimmer. I have the Vertex Alpha 250 skimmer.
Nice.
So it skims away and then for pumps, I'm using the Tunzi Stream 3s.
How do you like them?
I like them. I like them, and what attracted me to them, they are ugly as all hell, but I thought of a way that I could put them in which you really won't see them.
Those are the vertical tall ones where they kind of shoot out, right? Okay.
Correct. So I have 2 that run across the back wall. They're in the left hand corner, the back of the tank. They shoot across the back wall, so they create a gyre that goes, and they're just running full blast. And then one fires forward, also in that corner, down low, and it pulses. So what happens is, you have the gyre, and then it'll pulse, and it'll break that gyre, and the water will go into the reef. And so forth. So it's been working really well.
Wait. You only have those 2 pumps on your big tank?
No, there's 3.
Okay, still.
Two across the back, one facing forward. They're about 4,000 gallons an hour.
Okay, that's a good chunk.
Then my return pump is an Abyss, A200.
Yeah.
So that's the other, that kind of like the 4th tank. Now I do plan on adding more, and I'm really, really, really contemplating going with Vortex.
Yeah.
And if I go with Vortex, I'm going to go with a lot more.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of no wires in the tank.
Thing and put them in the corner.
Yeah. Well, if you're what I like doing, like on my frag tank, if you have like a blacked out back wall, you could put them all along the back wall shooting forward, and you don't see them because they just blend away. And they're very stealthy.
Yeah. They won't blend away for me because of the coral and algae.
Yeah, I guess you never clean it.
It's
It'll be
crazy.
there.
It is crazy. I grow it like a weed.
Yep. Okay, so now because we're talking pros and cons, what are some gear that you've had that you're like, nope, never again?
Gear that I've had that I would say no, never again. Anything with thumb screws.
Yeah.
That's primary. That's primary for me. T5s.
Yeah, never going back.
Never. So I don't know what it is, but my eye is very sensitive to that greenish color that's in a T5. Even the blue T5s look like they have a greenish tint to me.
Interesting.
They're blue, but they look aqua. Even the blue plus.
The bluey green.
So I just don't like it.
That's fair.
And I prefer the look of an LED.
Yeah, I'm with you. I much like looking at the tank under LEDs. T5 bulbs annoy me if I could see the bulb. Like if it was like a bulb in a canopy or something, I'd be like, okay. But when I could see the bulb, like that light really bugs me. But I don't like bright lights either.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I used to have a Geisman Spectra, and I loved that light. It had the two T5s on each side, and then it had the 400 watt metal halides, down the middle. I loved that fixture. But when I went to, I went ahead and got rid of it with my old tank because I knew I wasn't probably not gonna go. I knew LEDs. I saw the writing on the wall that LEDs were coming. So,
nice.
I ditched it.
No, that's fair. I had for a while the Noop Chic, however you say it. They're hybrid, which I liked because you could fold the flaps inwards and then you would basically hide the bulb. So where I was sitting, I could still see them from my desk. So for my specific spot, it didn't work. But otherwise, if you're looking at it head on, it would have hid the lights, which I thought was a cool feature.
Yeah.
It made me appreciate T5 more. But when you could see it, nope.
Exactly. So that's what I have for flow. And then, like I said, the Abyss return pump. But it's only running, I think my Abyss only runs at about 45.
Yeah, well, the Abyss is a beast.
48 watts. But yeah, it probably does maybe 1,400 gallons an hour of water at that low.
Yeah.
And I plumbed my Abyss with a single pipe. So it's a 40 millimeter pipe all the way up and over. All my tank is metric. By the way, when it comes
to you didn't convert it?
Well, all the pipe from Vertex is metric, and the owner of Vertex actually came to my house and plumbed it.
Oh, okay, well that's a good excuse.
So it was all using his pipe.
Yeah.
So he did everything in metric.
Gotcha.
And it was nice because most people will take their return pump up and split it into smaller pipes, but I actually like having that single return. Yeah. Because you can just run a whole lot of flow.
Yeah.
There's a lot of water coming out of it, and not something that would like blow the tissue off a coral. But it's still a lot of flow.
Yeah, you have a mass amount of volume coming through it.
Right. And then the other thing I just added, I do run Radions, Gen 4 Radions. I have 6 of them. Because I'm a former Metal Halide guy, I decided to run them in pairs of 2.
Yeah.
So they're butt up against each other in pairs of 2 running perpendicular on my tank. So they basically look like 3 square fixtures.
Okay.
Of 4 pucks.
Why did you butt them up instead of spacing them out more?
So what I was trying to do, what I see when I'm looking at Bulk Reef Supply's data when they're testing lights and so forth, what I tend to see is your center of the tank has a whole lot of light, but it falls off at the edges.
Okay.
So by butting 2 fixtures up next to each other, and they did this with one of their fixture tests, and when they did the 4-foot tank, they had the best way that they did it to get it even all the way across was they put 2 fixtures over,
offset it,
and then two fixtures, and there was a gap in the middle because of where they crisscross.
Yep.
So I just tried to picture that and did the same thing, and it actually worked. You know, when I tested it with a par meter, it's, you know, it's pretty even all the way across.
Okay.
But because they're Gen 4s, they also have a massive amount of punch all the way down also.
Yeah, they definitely do.
I mean, when I measured the tank at AB plus, at 100%, I was getting 570 at the bottom.
That's a good chunk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find the G4s, they do punch down a bit more, where the G5s have more spread.
Right.
Just with a different lens design.
Yeah. And it's so it's capable of some serious par numbers. I think I was somewhere around 1,500 at the top.
That's a good chunk. Okay.
You know.
So that being said, what do you actually run your tank at now?
50%.
50%? And
yeah.
that.
So I'm getting that's what I'm at. I'm at AB plus 50%. And then all blues. I do that for 6 hours and then 4 hours of all blues.
Okay.
Approximately. And then the ramp down. All in all, it's a 12-hour ramp up and ramp down.
Yep.
I mean, you know, light cycle. When you include the ramp up and ramp down.
Okay. And then roughly, like, what par range do you shoot for like your acros and your sand bed?
At the bottom?
Yep.
Oh, it's like 300.
Okay. At the sand bed? It's a good chunk of light.
Yeah, man, that's 27 inches. My tank's 27 inches down. But remember, I mean, if you've ever looked at my tank, the highest point on the rocks is 12 inches down.
Yeah, that's true. Well, your tank is more of like a staircase up almost with all the different shelves.
Yes, but that highest point is still about 12 inches down in the water.
Yeah, that's fair.
So
okay, I think majority of my tank is fairly similar to yours in that respect. Is that I have lots of swimming space, lots of space for the acros to grow.
Exactly. That's what it, you know. I looked at it as I didn't care about what it looked like immediately. I just wanted a lot of surface area, and if you've seen it from the top, it's got a ton of surface area. You know, there's no vertical areas on the rockscape where I lose the ability to mount corals. It's all flat and stick and tiered, like you said.
Now, no, that's true. Well, that's one of my earlier mistakes of reefing. I learned that where I had like awesome like arches and stuff, but then they were so thin at the top, you really had limited coral space, which you learn once your tank is packed and you're running out of spots for new frags.
Right. So I do want to tell people a little tip when it comes to things like lighting. Don't get your lights until the last minute. I got my lights early on, and the Gen 5s came out before I even set up the tank. So when it comes to technology stuff, that's the last thing you buy. Don't even think about it until you actually need it.
Fair point.
Yeah.
I know lots of people stockpile, and I've had mountains of gear before I even my tank set up, just like slowly stocking up, you know, every paycheck. You're like, new piece.
Exactly. But yeah, not electronics. And then for controller, I just added a Hydros controller.
Yep. How are you liking it?
Love it.
Nice.
I absolutely love it. You know, so I have an Apex. But the Apex intimidates me. I'm not a do-it-yourself guy. I'm not a DIY guy. I want things easy.
Yeah.
I don't have an Android. I have an iPhone because I'm okay with them locking me down from doing something stupid.
Fair enough.
And that's the way I feel about the Hydros. Yeah, can it do all the do-it-yourself stuff and all the crazy things that the Apex can? Well, honestly, I don't know because it can do an awful lot.
Yep.
But those aren't things that appeal to me. So I just went for the basics.
Yep.
I got the controller. I got the CO2 controller, the CO2 solenoid, because I used the Tunzi CO2 regulator. It doesn't have a solenoid on it.
Oh, yeah, they sell it separate.
It's sold separately.
Yeah, okay.
and it's controlled through their controller.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have that. So I just had the Tunzi, and I put the hydro solenoid on it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I did the skimmer overflow protection.
Yep.
I did the leak detector and the auto top off.
Okay. Nice.
And for the most part, I think that's all any reefer really needs. And of course, it's more than what a lot of people, a lot of people wouldn't do the skimmer.
I think the skimmer overflow is like the most important one. I love that little sensor.
Correct. But I mean, on other controllers, people don't go for that right off the bat.
Okay, fair. I was gonna say,
But at $30,
yeah.
I'm going for it.
Auto Aqua XP. I don't remember which one it is, but they have their little plug-in one, which I have on my other tank with the Apex tank, with that on there, just to add that feature to it, because I think that's an important one.
But that's the other thing that attracted me to the Hydros was how cheap it was to add stuff to it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the auto top off $79.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's basically the auto aqua, and it works.
Mm-hmm.
It works. You can set up how the maximum runtime for the pump, so you'll never overflow the tank.
Yep.
I mean, it's just so easy to use. It doesn't come with any instructions. I just kind of was playing with it and figured out. You just figure it out, just like an iPhone. So
that's fair.
For me, that appealed to me.
Yeah, that was a good one. Basically, everyone I've talked to have had a very similar response, because I always ask people how they like it, how's it going, and ease of use has been huge for almost everyone I've talked to about it.
Yeah.
What was the reason Greg went with LEDs instead of halides, Greg? That's Alex is asking.
So I'm really big on staying away from dead technology.
That's all the reason.
When I was running Metal Halide, it was alive and well.
Mm-hmm.
You had a lot of the companies like was it Luminarc? Those guys developed it for growing pot, and it did really. Those reflectors did really well. Then Sunlight Supply jumped in the game, and Sunlight Supply was used their computer technology to design reflectors, and really did a really good job. And actually, I think when it came to spread, the LumaMax, the full size LumaMax reflector was actually better than the Luminarc.
Mm-hmm.
But all of a sudden, after Sunlight Supply did that, it all ended. They everybody else stopped making new reflectors. Mm-hmm. They couldn't compete with a company that big making reflectors, and they were making them cheap. And a lot of the companies, Luminarc, kind of fell off. And, to me at that point, I said, okay, it's a dead technology.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's making any advancements anymore. So that's when I got that Spectra, and I had originally wanted the Sphilogoi, which was I
haven't even heard of that one. What is
Italian,
that one? Okay.
An Italian company that made a beautiful. It looked like a Luminarc reflector, but it also had T5s added to it. That's what I really wanted.
Yep.
And but everybody I heard had problems with it, so I went ahead and did the all-in-one Geisman, and I loved it. It didn't have the punch of the Sunlight Supplies. Eventually, I got tired of it. I went ahead and went back to Sunlight Supply reflectors, and moved up to 400s. So I knew Metal Halides, but there was nothing better. There just wasn't anything. There wasn't anything better coming from the manufacturers. So I moved away from it. And mind you, I did a lot of beta testing for companies. I beta tested for Phoenix, the Phoenix Metal Halide bulbs. I was a beta tester for Ushio, because both Phoenix and Ushio have offices here in Orange County, or had offices here in Orange County. I don't even know if Phoenix is still operating. And the picture on the box for the Phoenix is actually from my tank.
Nice. That's awesome.
So, but it was cool because with Ushio, like, the engineers came to my house You know, like every month to see the progression, you know, if they wanted to bring these bulbs to the US and whatnot. So, so I, you know, I was really tied into metal halide, but I just, you know, I needed something to inspire me because I want to be on the forefront. I don't want to be living in the past.
Yeah.
And
So
so I knew there was nothing better coming from metal halide, so I moved away from it.
So question. So what kind, I know there's lots of like diehard metal halides out there and there's a diehard T5s. I mean, they got them for all the different lighting classes. Now, having moved from one to the other, did you notice a big difference in like your coral or coloration or growth or anything swapping from one technology to the other? Like anything overly noticeable or just subtly?
Oh no 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 no! I when it comes to ease of use and the growth, I definitely feel that metal halide is better,
Yeah.
and a lot of that comes from, you know, everybody talks about metal halide being a point source light. It wasn't.
Well, it was a
Yeah,
freaking blanket of point source.
correct. I
Yeah.
mean, when you have a reflector that's, you know, 20 inches by 20 inches, there's light coming from every single panel.
Yep. Yeah.
You know,
They're
it's
huge.
a point source, but it's not.
It's a
You
massive
know,
point
so
source.
yeah,
It's
so
not a little one. Yeah.
right. So when I saw people, you know, like looking at Kessels and like, oh, it's a point source like metal halide, I'm like, yeah, no, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's different. It's different. So, um, so when I, you know, I looked at what other people were using and so forth because I did take about 4 years off of reefing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, I still was doing the Reefpalooza shows, you know, and running. I was still president of the club, but I didn't have an aquarium.
Yeah.
So, so I got to see what was going on. Lots of trips to Worldwide Corals, you know, every year, and seeing the progression. And you come to the realization that this is a company whose business is growing coral.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people don't know the roots of Worldwide Corals, and the way I was introduced to them, they came to my house to buy frags from me.
Yeah. Nice.
And that's what they did. Victor used to go all over the country buying frags from the best reefers out there.
Yeah.
You know, and then he'd grow them. He didn't shop at wholesalers, even though all the wholesalers were, he didn't want to go to the wholesalers.
Yeah.
He wanted to go to the best reefers' houses and pick from their tank. And so it's his mindset is completely different than everyone else. It's always been focused on growing coral. Well, he's running Radions. He loves them. So it was natural for me to say, okay, you know, this is a friend I trust in. I've seen what he can do. I'm going to go ahead and go with Radions. And that's what I did.
Nice. Solid choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and then, you know, I used to, when we were doing Metal Halide, I followed Sanjay. Sanjay is a good friend of mine, and I followed all his information in his data. You know, he basically taught me how to read the data.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, you know, they, for instance, they watch a BRS video about lighting and they're listening to what they're saying. I don't ever realistically, when it comes to lighting, I don't listen to what they say. I look at the data map.
Pause and look at the charts.
I take screenshots. I have screenshots of all of them, and I can compare them that way.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people who will say one thing, and you know, when those Gen 5s came out, I was like, okay, this is metal halide. The spread that it gave was like a Luminarc or a Lumimax. It just was such huge spread. Other people didn't see it the way I saw it. But I'm looking at those data charts and I'm like, yeah, well, we're seeing what it is at 24 inches. If it's that high at 24 inches, how high is it at 36?
Yeah.
You know, it's still high. So, so I've just been a firm believer in looking at data to make your choices.
100% with you on that one.
Pick the right tool for the job.
Yep. 100%. For me, like, I agree with you. Like, the G5s is like the evenness of the spread's amazing. Like, I can go across my tank with a par meter, like straight across it is basically the same.
All the same. Yep.
The same level of the tank straight across is basically identical, which is pretty amazing. And that's what the 5s. The 4s are a little more down, but it's still pretty good. But yeah, it's all about the numbers, man.
It is.
Yep.
It is. And I wish more people, because, as I say, when you listen to Ryan and Randy, you're also listening to their opinion. Their opinion is not always driven by the data. It can be driven by personal opinion. What he feels, what he likes to see. And he may like something a little different than what you like.
Yeah.
And that's really what it comes down to. So that's why I always make my decisions based on the data if I can.
Yeah. No, that's a good way to do it, right? You're taking that bias away from it, straight up numbers. Yep. Awesome. Okay, someone was asking a few minutes ago, how long have you been the president, Mr. President? Hello, Mr. President.
President of SCMAS since 2008.
Nice. Pretty good.
So,
it's been a long time, actually.
Yeah. Huh?
It's been a long time.
Yeah. 13 years.
13? Yeah. Well, that's pretty solid. There was another request to bring Randy's donuts when you come to Orlando in 2 weeks.
You know what? This year was the first I had never had Randy's donuts, and I went to LAX Aquariums, which is literally right at the entrance of LAX airport. It's like right on the path to going into the terminal. And he stopped at Randy's Donuts, and I was like, "Oh, these are good." I've seen it in movies and things like that. I didn't think they were good. And then I found out that the Worldwide Corals guys don't seem to have good donuts in Orlando. And these guys want to stop at every freaking donut shop in Southern California. 'Cause they're everywhere.
Yeah.
They want, there's a donut shop. That looks good. Let's pull over, I'm just like, oh my God, you guys and donuts. So I don't really eat donuts that often, but yeah, they love donuts. But no, I'm not going to Randy's Donuts and taking those on the plane.
That's funny. You'll be searched. What are all these donuts? What are you hiding?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so speaking of 2 weeks, so Reefpalooza, Orlando, 2 weeks.
Yes.
Nice.
Looking forward to it.
That's exciting. It's been a while for shows, so that's going to be pretty good.
Yes. And it's bittersweet. We had to cancel Reefpalooza, California. We have other circumstances that we have to deal with. It is not cheap to do a show in California.
Anywhere.
And if we have to limit our clientele, our club is going to lose money. They just are.
That's fair.
And we have to fill the hotel, and people aren't completely gung-ho on travel right now. So we thought it would be best to go ahead and postpone for another year.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Looking forward to Orlando. Then I've also been told that New York is a go coming in the end of June. So I assume Chicago will be a go in October as well.
Nice. That'll be good.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Hopefully, I miss trips and travel, so it'll be nice when stuff gets back to normal again.
Yeah. Most definitely.
Exactly. Okay, so aside from the shows coming up, so we can dig into this a little bit more in a bit for some more info on it. So Rethink Mythologies, you are doing it super simple now. What are some of your prior ones that you've tried in the past?
So I've tried the Refugium. It went well, but what I always found is that it only goes if you're not supplementing the things that the algae needs. You're always going to have it peter out, it seems. You can do water changes, of course, to reintroduce those things, but it does best when you're dosing the things that the algae needs.
100% have to. Like, once you run out of iron, molybdenum, like your chaeto growth is gonna come to a halt.
So I always struggled with the attitude: am I trying to grow coral, or am I trying to grow algae?
Well,
now,
okay.
I hear a lot of people, their tank looks great, but they're obsessed that their chato's not growing. And so now that's what I ask them: are you trying to grow coral? Or are you trying to grow algae?
Well, I guess the first question is, are you have nutrient issues you're dealing with?
Right. True.
Right?
A lot of them don't. I mean, when their tank's looking great, they probably don't have nutrient issues that they're dealing with. If the tank looks great and the chato's not growing, they probably don't have nutrient issues. You know, and I've always felt that bacteria, you know. So a little background: I did a lot of beta testing for Warner Marine when they were producing skimmers, and then they also came out with biopellets, Ecobac. And I was the first one to use it. I was his guinea pig. He explained the whole process for me, and I found out, you know, in talks with him, in talks with Dr. Tim. Dr. Tim told me, hey, every 40 minutes, if you have enough oxygen, you have a carbon source, you have phosphorus and nitrogen, bacteria will double every 40 minutes.
That's fast.
That's fast.
Yep.
Now, it'll do that until something hits zero.
Okay.
Whether that be the carbon, whether that be the nitrogen or the phosphorus, one of them's gonna hit zero when it stops.
Yep.
So I started looking at that. I'm like, you know, I'll just carbon dose when I have a nutrient issue and stop when I don't.
Fair enough.
And that's kind of the way I do it. If I can go 4 days without seeing any algae on my tank, on the glass, I'm good.
You're doing pretty good. Okay, so now on the fork of this, what do you currently keep your nitrate and phosphate levels at? Ish.
I currently keep them at. I try to. For me, I more try the ratio. I try to stay around a 10-to-1 ratio. So pretty much most of the times when I test my tank, nitrates at 1 and phosphates at 0.1.
Okay, well, that's a good place to be. Yeah.
And the tank, that's just where it settles in at, and it stays there. Occasionally, I've tested it where the phosphate's gotten to 0.2, little carbon dosing, and it's gone.
0.02 or 0.2?
No, 0.1 and 0.2.
Okay.
So I'm not breaking out my hand to see how exactly what 0.1 is.
Yep.
Because that's also within the margin of error of the testing that I'm using.
Yeah, no, fair.
So I use the API
test kit?
It's
the little digital Spinny tester thing?
A little machine that tests like 8 or 10 different parameters.
Ooh, how do you like that? Does it work well?
Oh, it works great.
It's nice. That's a nice, easy way to test everything.
So we tested it. We went around and we tested it because I was like showing it to local fish stores and so forth. They were really cool. API was really cool with us. We went around to these fish stores and they're like, hey, for every fish store you get to buy one, we'll send you a free box of the test kits, of the test or the disc.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I can sell these. So, you know, Unique Corals bought a couple. LAX Aquarium bought a couple. And then they're like, yeah, we're going to discontinue that with you, Greg.
Dang, you're selling too many. We're losing business.
You're never going to buy test kits again if you keep it up at that rate.
Well, look how many test kits you sold for them, so it's a fair trade.
Yeah, no, it was, and it's a great little device. One of the things I can say about it is it's consistent.
That's key.
So, yes, it is low in calcium, but consistently low. it's repeatable. The test results are repeatable. So if you know based on other test kits that you've been using, you know what the Aquaspin does, you can relate the two.
And
And
if
eventually I stopped comparing it to the other test kits
yeah,
because I know what it is, and that's fine for my tank.
but that's all that matters. Like if it says it's 400
Right.
instead of 420, who cares as long as it's stable, right?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
stability is the key.
That's
Okay.
right.
Jeremy's asking, what do you do for water changes?
Water changes. So I try to do monthly water changes. I don't always get it,
Yeah.
but I use Brightwell.
Yep.
The Brightwell Neo Marine Salt.
Good choice. Good choice.
Uh, I have a water change set up out in the garage, 65-gallon containers. And when I do my water changes, like I said, I don't think I ever go more than 2 months, but I'll do a 65-gallon water change.
You should just automate those little daily ones. So good.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to run a hose.
Fair. Okay. Is it far away?
That's, had I thought about that, I could have, because we took a lot of the walls down the studs.
Yeah.
And one of the things when we bought this house, my wife's like, whatever you want, if you want it in the walls, do it now. So I ran a pipe up to the attic so that all the wiring for the TV could come right down. And of course now I have internet TV. I don't need the wires, but things like that, just so everything was nice and clean. I put in extra power behind the tank. But had I thought about it, I would have ran a hose from the garage, ran 2 hoses.
Yeah.
For auto water changes.
Yep. Exactly.
But yeah, no, I didn't.
So my main tank, I did the auto water change on it, and my frag tank does not have it, and it's had maybe 2, maybe 3 water changes since I set it up, where the other one gets a gallon or 2 a day, right? Yeah. So it just happens. Where all I have to do is top off the bin and add in some more Brightwell salt, and then it's all happy again. Where my other one, I actually have to pull the bins and mix it and preheat it, and then it just does not happen nearly as often as it should.
Yeah, but I did, I do have the system. I have a super long hose. I pump it in. A water change takes about, to do a 65-gallon, maybe 30 minutes. My sump is able to pump the water out of it. So I can drain the sump. There's an Askell pump that can pump the water out. Now I haven't used it yet, because normally I'm siphoning out detritus.
Yeah.
The sump stays pretty clean. I have a brush, and I
really
constantly. Yeah. I get it in there with a brush and just clean everything, any detritus that's settled, and pump it right back into the tank, and it'll go down. And I'll put a sock in. I usually don't run a sock most of the time.
Yep.
But when I do that, I'll put a sock in. It'll capture it all. And tank will be clean again.
It's a good way to do it. I've never thought about brushing the sump before, but I mean, I guess it's a good way to get rid of all the detritus, all the little random bits in there.
Yeah, I have two pumps in there. I have like a Seche, I think it's like a 5.0 and a Tunzi NanoStream that are in there that keep it, mixing real good, and it just so there's a lot of flow. So once you brush it, nothing settles. It'll all get pumped into the biz.
Nice. That's pretty good. Do you know what I actually kind of want? The Seche, that new little sump pump thing they have that sucks to the very bottom millimeter of the tank. So you could literally get it all out. That thing would be great for water changes and stuff.
So one of the things that they did on my sump, like I said, I haven't used it yet, but there's 3 chambers in the sump, and there's valves to each one, and they recessed the area right below the pipe, and it will suck it dry.
That's handy.
Yeah, and you can do each chamber if you want to.
Nice.
Really nice.
So
and it'll do it fast. And I just haven't used it, mainly because I didn't have a reason to plug that pump in, because it also feeds the Zeo reactor in the meantime. But now that I have the controller, I could plug it in and actually start using that to drain the sump.
Yeah. Huh. That's kind of handy.
But yeah.
Okay. So a few people call this one out too. So no socks in the tank. So nothing for mechanical filtration.
Typically, no. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I run it occasionally when I'm trying to clean up something.
Mm-hmm.
When it's usually from scrubbing the sump.
Yeah. Okay.
So
That's fair.
yeah.
I
You know, I think I've run carbon twice in the last year,
mm-hmm.
and it was no more than a day that I ran it for.
Now just to fix some issue or fix
Just,
something that was in
just
there. Good
yeah,
measure.
because my sump's white,
Yeah.
it looked a little yellow. I ran carbon for a day.
Fair.
It looked white again. Nothing more than that though.
Problem solved. Not for the
Yeah.
reef tank. It's for the sump aesthetics.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
But the skimmer for the most part keeps the tank clean.
Mm-hmm.
I mean it's a beast.
Yeah. I find the other thing is too, we kind of touched on it earlier, but coral is also a huge form of nutrient export, right? So
Yes.
once the more mature your tank gets, the older it gets, the more your coral grows, the less you even need to worry about refugiums or other export because your coral is just sucking it all up anyways.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. Now, at one point on my old tank, I also used, I did a couple different things. I used clams. I had clams in my refugium. I had pulled out all the algae, and I had a rack in there that was like 4 inches down, and I put a bunch of ugly clams, cheap clams that I could get that were just ugly. No one would buy them.
Yeah.
And I used those for filtration because they were doing that in Germany. I thought it was a great idea, and it was.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also did Xenia.
Yeah. Okay, how did both of those work? I've debated the whole clam refugium a few times now, but did it work well?
The clam refugium definitely cleaned the water. I mean, but God, I really had to work the calcium reactor to feed
The clam.
them, And then they got, I was using like squamosas for the most part because they were cheaper at the time. Maximas were more the desirable one, so I used squamosas, and they got too big. So I started, to get rid of them, and then I ended up putting one in the tank.
Yeah, nice. You still have it?
But no.
No? Okay.
Yeah, it was. I think I sold it at some point. It got to the point where it was caught between two rocks, and then it would do things, and it would literally shake the rocks on either side of it. I mean, they're really, that's a strong muscle in those clams.
Oh yeah, mine is like a football. Like it's huge.
Yeah. No, mine was a little bigger than that. It was probably 16 inches across. But I ended up selling that off. But I did do the Xenia for a while.
Mm-hmm.
The Xenia, man, I'll tell you, that was a money maker.
Yeah.
That was a money maker. I had 175 watt metal halide from the clams over it. Just dosed. I put a bunch of on that it was only 4 inches of water where that rack was, and I just coated it in rubble rock.
Yeah.
And I would just come in periodically and just take the scissors and just cut them.
Chop some off.
And they just land on it.
Yeah.
And I was able to harvest like 20 stalks of the elongata a month.
Yeah.
And I was getting paid $10 each one.
Not bad. That paid for your hobby right there.
It was paying for the hobby right there. I didn't have to cut any other frags. I had a local fish store that would pay me $10 per stalk, per fully grown, on a rock. Easiest money I ever made.
Huh. Yeah, I used to just trade in Chato for credit when I needed fish food and different things, but
but they don't pay for Cato when they pay.
That's not bad. No, I love Xenia. Like, I've never personally put it in my tank, but I appreciate it always. Like, my buddy has like this whole big arch in it, and it's all like in the flow and mesmerizing. I love it, but I'm always scared to add it because I think it's going to take over my tank.
Now, it never made it into the main tank, though. It never went in there.
Now,
it stayed put.
Now, how well do you feel it worked as like a refugium for like exporting nutrients?
Hell if I know. I had a skimmer rated for 1,000-gallon tank.
You're like, that was just my money maker.
And I was running ozone.
That's
periodically.
That's just the Sugar Mama Sump section to support the hobby.
Exactly. Jesus, I had a an Aqua Sea EV1000, and the pump to power it was a Mag 36. They don't even make the Mag 36 anymore.
Yeah.
But it was huge.
Huh. Yeah, that's big. Sounds big.
Yeah. So 3,600 gallons an hour, and it was pretty good pressure.
Yep. No, that's pretty solid. Okay, so have you ever had xenon in your main tank, and did it spread and take over, or no?
Never have had it in the main tank.
Okay, that explains everything. So
Yeah.
I have a buddy that had it in his, and he told me, he's like, it doesn't really grow down, it only grows up. So he used to just put it at the highest point in your tank and it won't spread down. So I'm curious about that. Yeah.
Interesting.
That was his theory. So it was
I don't know, but that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I don't know. I was just curious to see if you've had it.
Nope.
I always think about it and I'm like, nope, stop myself. So.
Yeah. But I mean, it was great. Like I said, like you said, it paid for the hobby.
Mm-hmm.
Plus I also sold SBS frags too back then. So
yep.
Now I don't sell much of anything.
Yeah.
Corals are too small.
Isn't it? Yeah, that's fair. In a couple of years, we'll revisit this.
Yeah. So I do look forward to being able to pay for the hobby through fragging, because
it's true. I appreciate when tanks are like full and grown and lush, and when you see the ones where they're over fragged, there's just like little tiny sticks everywhere, and it's not the same.
Exactly.
Yep. All right. So another question someone asked a few times is there any dream fish or any fish you don't have that you want to add, or any big changes for your tank coming?
I still want the Flavogutatus anthias.
What the heck is that? Flavogutatus?
Yes, Flavogutatus, red-saddled anthias.
Okay. I have to look this up. Oh, those are cool looking.
Yeah. That's I mean, they're not super expensive. They're not ventralis,
They're pretty.
But they're different.
Mm-hmm.
And no one has them.
This is true. Are they just hard to get, or are they fairly rare?
They don't come in very often. They only come in from one place. I think it's around Jakarta is where they come from, and they're a deeper water species, so just not many of them came in.
Okay, that's fair. That's the Lenardi Grass is one that I always love, but I could just never bring myself to pay that much for one. But they're beautiful.
So one of the good things about being here in Southern California is we have access to a lot of fish. This
is true.
And any reefer who's been in the hobby for a really long time knows someone with a wholesale license.
This is also true.
So that they can get in and get what you need. But
still expensive though. Like, I know people like that too.
Oh yeah.
But it's still expensive. I'm just like,
And I just, I've always been like one step behind that fish.
Yeah.
The closest was I tried to get Victor to get me some from Worldwide Corals, and they had 9 in stock.
Oof.
And he's like, "How many do you want?" I'm like, "Get them all."
Really?
Already sold.
Dang.
Because they do everything online, so they may be there, but they were already sold to somebody else. So.
Oh wow, that was fast.
That was the closest I had gotten.
Huh? Crazy.
Yeah.
Now those are cool. I've never seen those before. I like it though. I gotta keep an eye out for one. Are they expensive or not bad?
I mean, retail. I think they're probably like $70.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, like Lenardi's are like freaking 700.
Yeah, but I'm gonna want 10 of them.
Well, okay, that adds up. You're up 700 then.
Yeah, so I don't want just a few. Like when I got the Anthias I have now, I bought 15.
Mm-hmm.
I lost 2.
Ah, no.
Yeah.
Why'd you lose them? Did they jump or something else?
Yeah, they jumped.
Got a jump card. Okay.
Oh, sorry. One jumped, and one, the pump got him.
Yeah. Oh, that sucks.
Because when they first went into the tank, the first place they went to hide, instead of scoping out a place in the rock works, they were afraid of the other fish that were in there. So they decided to sleep on the back wall where my tonsies are.
Ah, dang. That sucks.
And at night, one of the smaller ones didn't make it.
Ah.
And he went through.
That sucks.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Quick shout out, Tracy. Thank you for the super chat. Much appreciated.
Awesome.
Yeah. Now, yeah, that does suck.
So that, it's definitely a downside of having pumps that flow a lot of water.
Yeah, no, that's true. It happens. Usually, yeah. Okay, question. Copper band butterfly. Have you ever put one in your tank?
Put 2 in my tank.
Okay. Was there ever any issues with any of the tangs or any of the other fish, or no?
Yes. The powder blue went after them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone else or just the one?
Just the one.
Okay.
Didn't matter. The first one didn't eat. He died. The second one's not eating either.
So I have one probably about that big that's been in my frag tank now for about 2 or 3 months. Eating fine, it's great, hasn't munched on any coral, so far I'm like, perfect, you passed my initial you're not going to destroy my tank test. So I keep thinking of throwing them in the big tank, which is where I really want them, but I have 3 yellows and a purple and a pippo tang. And
I had one in my old tank that ate aptasia, ate pellet food, he ate everything. But the two that I've gotten, neither of them, I have not got them to eat.
Dang.
I'm going to try to get some bloodworms, because this one's only a week old, the one I just got. So get some bloodworms and see if I can get his appetites stimulated.
Nice.
But they wouldn't even eat the, what's that stuff called? Mastic.
Oh,
They
really?
wouldn't even eat the mastic.
I've only really tried feeding mine just frozen mysis, and he seems to eat it, no problem, every day. So.
I tried frozen mysis. Doesn't seem to be interested, so
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, Tracy saying acclimation box, probably a good idea. I gotta borrow one to throw it in there and just make sure none of the tangs are gonna cause any trouble.
Right.
I don't know why, but I feel like it's a possibility, so I'm a bit cautious there. Just because he's that similar body shape in a way.
My aggression, when I put this one in last weekend, it lasted for all of maybe 3 or 4 hours.
Really?
Yeah.
Yikes.
That's it. That hasn't bothered him since.
Oh, that's not bad. Okay.
Yeah.
That's not bad at all. I don't know why, but I feel like the yellow tangs are the riskier ones because they're the more like...
I have 2 yellows, but they didn't bother him at all.
Okay, good. So I have 3 in my tank, and that was my one slight hesitation.
They never went after him. It was just the powder blue. And, I do have a mirror that I will tape to the glass. Yeah. And that usually curbs a lot of the aggression. But I didn't need to. I mean, it was over so quick, I didn't find a need to do it.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Okay. I'm going to attempt it soon. I may try the whole acclimation box and throw them in there for a day and make sure it's all good first. But yeah, once I find one to borrow. All right, man. So
the eShops one's pretty nice.
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
I got the medium, so it has like 3 chambers, but I usually just take the dividers out in one big chamber.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. All right. I'm going to find something local so I can borrow and do it. I put a big beaker in the frag tank. It's just chilling in there. I'm waiting for the fish to all forget about it so I can eventually try and catch them that way.
So, that's kind of funny you said that, because I used to always, back in the old days, I used to feed my tank with the turkey baster.
Yeah.
And it got to the point to where if a turkey baster went in, all the fish followed it. So, I just go and squirt the food into a cup with the turkey baster.
And they swim right in.
They'll all swim right into the cup. They didn't care.
Perfect. That makes it nice and easy.
But, they got conditioned to it, to that turkey baster, and they knew it was feeding time.
All right. I'll try that for a week or so, and then I'll lure them in.
Yeah.
Oh, that'll be good. All right, Greg. So, okay. All right. So we've covered a good chunk of it, but so 2 weeks Reefpalooza.
Yep.
Are you excited?
Yep. I am. It's going to be different. They're dividing it into sessions. Some people like us, we like to stay all day. I mean, if I was an attendee, I want to be there all day. But a lot of people, they only go for a few hours anyway. So I don't think it's going to be too much of an effect there. The raffle's going to be strange because we're not going to have a crowd for the raffle.
Yeah, that'll be strange. The raffles are fun.
They're going to announce the winners, via social media. and the website. So.
Okay, nice. So it's like time blocks. So you're like, oh, here's like a couple hours, or how's that work?
Yeah, there'll be a morning session and an afternoon session for each day.
Okay, nice.
Just to limit how many people are in there.
Yeah.
Because you know what it's like first thing in the morning on Saturday.
Yep.
It's
nuts.
I mean, within 15 minutes the place is packed.
Yep.
It's shoulder to shoulder.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
So and I do know they have a larger venue. We've moved back to that old hotel that we were at.
Oh, I like that one.
Yeah, the Caribe Royale. That was my favorite hotel. But
yeah, mine too.
They got a long-term contract there. So.
Oh, good. Next year.
So it's going to stay there, yeah. And, we should have a blast.
No, that's awesome. I'm sad I'm not going to this one, but miss it. Next one, I'll be there.
Well, you don't want to have to quarantine when you go back.
That's what I mean. It's just it's a hassle right now. So
completely understand. That's part of the reason why California we canceled. We don't have the live goods guys that you guys have on the East Coast, or that they have on the East Coast over there.
Yeah.
We have a lot more local fish stores, but what we do get is we get companies like MaxSpect coming over, Biz coming, with Coral View and whatnot. And those guys don't, the Poland, Aquaforest and other, we have several companies from China. They don't want to have to deal with quarantining when they go back.
Yeah.
So they're like, we're not coming.
Well, that's the thing. Like, if I leave and come back, I have to quarantine for 2 weeks. So it's like...
Exactly. So if they're not coming, we're not selling those rooms either.
Yeah, exactly.
But we're going to have to pay for them.
Yep. So...
Because the hotel, you have to guarantee the hotel so many rooms.
And if not, then it gets expensive fast.
It comes out of your pocket. And we stood to lose just too much money.
Yeah, 100% on that one.
Yeah.
Yep. Aaron, thank you for the super chat. Same as Sky High Reefs. Welcome, guys, and thank you. But yeah, no, I 100% understand that point. Like, for now, if I leave Canada and come back, I gotta like flip the bill for like 3 nights of some overly priced hotel for 3 days until like your tests come back, and then if assuming it's negative, there's no issues, I still gotta go finish the rest of the 2 weeks at home or whatever. But it's still a big expense and extra pain in the butt. So
I mean, as great of a country as the U.S. is, we have to understand we are that country that people don't want their people coming in from. We are.
That's fair. It's a lot. Hey, the U.S. is huge. There's a lot of people there, so
there it is.
Yep.
They don't want us coming to their country.
Not
at the moment.
Nope. But I'm jealous of all the local reefers that can actually go to shows. So next year.
Definitely.
Yep. Awesome. Now, do you think there's going to be a bunch more shows too later this fall, later in the year?
Well, I mean, I know that Reefpalooza New York has just announced that it is a go. They've worked it out as far as they're going to do something similar with the sessions, which works great for the New York crowd because they just don't stay the whole day. They come in for a couple hours and they go, and the crowd kind of comes in all throughout the day. So yeah, it'll definitely work in that area. Yep. And then hopefully by October, when Chicago rolls around, we won't have to do any of that.
Yeah, hopefully everyone's vaccinated and life can go normal. Go enjoy the good old days of reef shows. Exactly.
So I'm fully vaccinated. I think my immunity will be set in another week.
Perfect.
So I got my final shot last Monday. So yeah, we're good.
Beauty.
I'm ready to go.
Ready for it. Oh, that's awesome, man. Well, Greg, I appreciate you coming on today.
No problem, man. I'm sorry I've been lagging. You've been asking forever.
Yeah.
I've really wanted to.
I need a break eventually. It's got to keep on you.
Yeah. And, we didn't get to touch on everything we really wanted to talk about, but, this was a good intro starting point. Hopefully I can come on again in the future and we can dig even deeper.
Yeah, definitely. That sounds like a solid plan to me.
All right, buddy.
All right. I'm going to live vicariously through the shows with you, so you better post lots about it.
I'll do my best.
Perfect. Thanks again. Right. Quick shout out, John, Reggie, Tracy, Aaron, Sky High. Thank you guys for the super chat. Much appreciated. Greg, thank you for coming on.
Thanks. And you know, if you guys have time, follow me on Instagram.
What's your Instagram handle?
G Carroll 1969. Just look
Perfect.
up Greg Carroll.
He'll show
It'll
up.
come up. You probably, if you put GR and you're a reefer, it's gonna come up. So
Yeah, it's
so
true.
yeah, follow me on Instagram. If you have any questions you want to ask me, I'm pretty good at answering everybody who DMs me. And unless you're sending me sexy pictures, I delete those.
Yeah, fair.
All right.
Beauty. I'll go find your Instagram link. I'll throw in a description too for the people that are too lazy to search. So it'll be in there. So
All right.
if you guys enjoyed it, hit that like button if you're new. Make sure you subscribe. Thank you, Greg, and I'll catch you guys